911 is John. What's the address emergency?
Hi, there is an emergency. I found something in my son's closet wrapped in a plastic bag.
Okay, what was it?
I think it's a human head.
It's a what?
I think it's a human head.
You know, you said you were curious. What did you think it was going to feel like?
I thought it would be the best feeling in the world.
Okay.
19-year-old Brian Cohee submerged his car in the Colorado River, so with suspicions rising and feeling the need to investigate, a rotting head was the last thing his mum expected to find in his bedroom. So who is Brian Cohee, and how did this horrific crime unfold? For today's case, we're visiting Grand Junction in Colorado, where Brian Cohee Jr. was born on the 10th of January 2002 and was raised by his parents, Terry Cohee and Brian Cohee Sr. For the sake of this video, though, I'll refer to Brian Cohee Jr. as just Cohee for ease and to hopefully reduce confusion. The night of the 27th of February 2021 was lit by a full moon, as confirmed by Cohee in his very disturbing police interrogation. Cohee was just all too eager to divulge all the grisly details from his unthinkable crime, often also showing signs of excitement when retelling the disgusting graphic details, and almost looking for validation from the detectives. I'll insert a few clips throughout this video from the interrogation footage so you can see just how nonchalant and relaxed he was throughout his entire questioning, and hopefully it might give a better portrayal of his overall character. On the night of the crime, he claims to have been in a really bad mental state that night, and so he went driving for hours looking for a victim. His intentions were so strong he even needed to stop to refuel his car. While passing a bridge near Crosby Avenue, he noticed something and quickly put his sick desires into action. Desires he had obsessed about for a year prior. In fact, this wasn't even the first time he'd ventured out looking for victims. He already had a kit prepared consisting of a mask, plastic gloves and a 12-inch kitchen knife, and had been driving looking for a victim for weeks prior to this crime.
Yeah, it was the night of February 27th. It was a full moon. And I figured I could see so well, why not drive out? And I am in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder, so I am not thinking, shall I say, positively. Okay.
Unfortunately, 69-year-old Warren Barnes was in the wrong place at the wrong time when Cohee had found Warren, who was homeless, sleeping next to the railway track under the bridge. Inspired by the horror film Halloween, Cohee wore a blue jumpsuit and Michael Myers mask complete with 3 layers of gloves. He approached Warren, who was peacefully sleeping, and began brutally stabbing him in the neck. Cohee, who claims Warren awoke and while panicking and screaming in pain asked, "Why and what are you doing?" only to receive the response,
"I've been wanting to do this for a long fucking time. Murder someone."
And continued to stab repeatedly while growling like an animal. Warren's last words were, "Why are you attacking me?" Tragically, to this day, we still don't know the answer to this question, and Warren is thought to have been stabbed up to 40 times. Cohee showed his excitement while almost reliving the murder, asking detectives if he could give a demonstration.
And I was driving along, and I see a shape here on the railway track, so I'm like, oh, interesting. So I go up, and as I'm looking, I see a large thing wrapped in a canvas. Okay. And I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grab my knife, I put on 3 layers of gloves, because plastic gloves can betray their users because they're so thin, those vinyl gloves, by imprinting your fingerprints through. So I put on 2, 3 on one hand. I took the knife, I pulled back the canvas, and I stabbed his neck. Okay. And I just kept on stabbing his neck. I was This is okay if I do a demonstration.
Oh, yeah.
This is him. I was straddled on top of him like this.
Okay.
And he couldn't fight back. It was actually surprisingly easy. I was barely breaking the sweat. I thought, oh, this guy, he's going to be tough. But no, it was actually surprisingly easy. And during the time, I was growling and making animalistic noises.
Why were you doing that?
I suppose it was a frenzy.
Okay.
I was so excited, so rushed up on adrenaline, and I was just...
The attack had been so brutal that once Cohee realised Warren was deceased, he noted Warren was nearly decapitated, and so went on to mutilate and dismember his body. I'll just give a little warning here that the next few details are really graphic and nauseating. Not that the previous details weren't, but just feel free to skip ahead 30 seconds or so if needs be. Cohee sliced open Warren's stomach, fully decapitated him, gave him a Joker smile, and removed his hands and arms. And these list only a few of the utterly gut-wrenching actions that Cohee made that night. I've honestly felt so sick while researching this case and writing the script, especially when you're then watching the interrogation videos and seeing his sheer lack of remorse and emotional disconnect Cohee has while he's retelling the murder, and he even chuckles at times. It's just so disturbing. Cohee then took 5 very disturbing photos of his disgusting act at 11:06 p.m, which were very quickly deleted again at 11:08 p.m, as well as a calendar note marking the day with 1st. The detectives, however, easily managed to retrieve all of this data. Could this be a telling sign that he was going to actually plan more murders in the future, seeing as he's marked this one as the 1st? When Cohee was done with dismembering Warren's body, he threw the arms in different directions as though he was just throwing away rubbish. He also gave another demonstration in his interrogation. Leaving the rest of the body at the scene, Cohee put Warren's decapitated head in a leftover pizza box, along with the dismembered hands, and took them back to his house, where he transferred them into carrier bags and put them in his bedroom wardrobe. He then searched how to clear the data from his Android phone and tried to sleep. Sleeping wasn't possible, however, as he started to be overcome with worry after noticing a hole in one of the gloves. And anxious that he'd left fingerprints at the scene, Cohee made his way back to the crime scene, where he loaded the remaining body parts into the boot of his car, and he headed to an area that he knew very well. This was the Blue Heron boat ramp, which was an area that his dad used to have a Save a Life jacket kiosk nearby. He manoeuvred his car close to the water's edge and dumped the body, using his feet, again being careful not to leave any prints behind. The car, however, got stuck and rolled into the water, becoming partially submerged. Panicking that he was going to die in the very cold water, with it being February, so bloody rich after the despicable murder that he's just committed, he then sought help for himself. Police attended to help rescue the car from the river. The body cam footage for this incident can also be found on YouTube. It's another really unsettling watch, seeing how calm Cohee remains throughout the whole ordeal, and he claims that he just simply needed to get out and think, all while we obviously know, while watching, what the actual reason was that he was there. It just feels really unsettling while you watch it. Cohee's parents were also at the scene helping their son, at this point having absolutely no idea what the next 48 hours would have in store for them, with his mother Terry saying, "It's just a stupid accident." She would very soon come to realise the true depth of the whole situation. Police noticed blood on the bumper of the partially submerged car, which when asked about, Cohee just brushed it off as though it was his own blood after cutting himself when refuelling. He did, in fact, cut himself when refuelling on the very same knife he later used to murder defenceless Warren Barnes. But as you could probably guess, this wasn't Cohee's blood on the car. He later also told his mum that it was fake theatrical blood. Police allowed Cohee to return home with no suspicion and told him to rest. Once at home, Cohee made a couple more further incriminating searches, hoping his crime would either go unnoticed or at least not come back on him. The first was at 2:41 a.m, searching if a river washes away evidence, and another at 6:16 a.m, how long does it take for a body to sink? The car was then recovered and given back to the Cohees. Suspicious from the blood, Cohee's dad, Brian Sr., searched his son's car to find a wallet in the glove box belonging to Warren Barnes, along with a clean knife and white latex gloves. Alarm bells are bound to start ringing when finding these three items together, so upon questioning his son, Cohee claimed to have found the wallet at the boat ramp that night. His dad had said that Cohee was that sincere in his answer that he just didn't think anything more of it. Terry was also feeling suspicious after the previous night and so felt the urge to search her son's bedroom. Upon searching his wardrobe, she found a rubber container with plastic bags inside. Intrigued by the weight of the bags, she looked inside to find an infestation of maggots, along with the terrifying discovery of a rotting human head. The decomposing hands were in a separate bag, which she couldn't even bring herself to open after the horror of the first discovery. She called Brian Sr. to come immediately and put the bags in the kitchen sink, which is where the police would later find them. In Terry's interrogation video with police, you can hear her genuine trauma when retelling this story. It is actually really heartbreaking to hear. Terry ran a daycare at her home with kids aged 2 to 5 years old. She states that was her first thought was to get the kids out, and so she phoned all of the parents to collect their children immediately due to a family emergency. During all this time, Cohee was over at a friend's house using his brother's car. They messaged Cohee telling him that his brother needed his car back as an excuse to get him back home, and as soon as he pulled back up at home, they phoned the police.
911 is John. What's the address emergency?
Hi, there is an emergency. I found something in my son's closet wrapped in a plastic bag.
Okay, what was it?
I think it's a human head.
It's a what?
I think it's a human head.
Why do you think it's that?
Because it looks like it's all an ear.
Is it bloody or does it like anything like that?
Can you just come? Do I have to take a picture and send it to you?
What's the address? Is your son there now?
He just pulled up. We wanted to make sure he was here before we called.
How old is he?
19. He's had a little bit of a fascination with the morbid, but he was channeling it, I thought, into becoming a crime scene investigator, but not so much.
Do you think he's going to be cooperative with us?
I don't know. I don't think he'll be violent. Just came back from his friend's house.
Does he have any weapons in his room, or do you guys have any in the house?
I don't know. I think that he has a shotgun, but we can certainly remove it immediately before he gets in his room. He's out by the car now, so.
Is the bag still in the closet?
No, it's in my kitchen sink. And there's a secondary bag that I have not opened. It's currently covered with a towel.
And there's a second bag?
There's a second bag, though. I don't know what's in it. I didn't open it.
I'm sorry. Did he took the second bag out of the closet?
I took the second bag out of the closet and put it in the sink.
Where's Brian now?
I think he's still outside.
And you're in the backyard now?
I am, yes, because I don't want him to hear me.
In the body cam footage of police attending the distressing call, an officer can be seen approaching Cohee to begin questioning. It's from here onwards that Cohee's disturbing characters quickly realised, by his calm demeanour and lack of hesitation to confess everything in complete detail. The police officer says, "Your parents have raised concerns about items found in your room." And Cohee just simply calmly responds, "Yes, I believe so. A human head and hands from that man that went missing. I killed him with a knife." With this, the police arrested the 19-year-old on the 1st of March 2021. Cohee disclosed how he'd always wondered what murder would feel like, assuming it would be the best feeling in the world, only to realise that it didn't even live up to his expectations.
And plus, for years, I was wondering what murder would feel like, because you read shit like Ted Bundy and the Zodiac, they all say murder is the best feeling in the world. So I'm like, I'm going to try that. Because I always wanted to know what it felt like to cut up someone. Okay. So the arms just... So why did you stop? Why did you stop? Because the arms were just... That's it. And that's all I wanted to know was like cutting off a limb. And I'm just like, okay.
I'm very curious. How do you feel about all this now?
I mean, the next 15 years of my life, book set in stone, prison. If I go back that night, probably wouldn't have done it. Knowing that, knowing what it felt like, knowing how this will all turn out, I wouldn't have done it.
Well, what did you think it was going to feel like? What did you said you were curious. What did you think it was going to feel like?
I thought it would be the best feeling in the world.
Okay. And you said you didn't feel much of anything.
Excitement.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
But other than that, no.
Okay. Interesting.
It's right here.
Oh, you see it?
Yeah. Because there's an arm.
Oh, shit!
Hey.
There's an arm.
Good search ever.
There's an arm. There's another arm.
Okay, hold on. Do some pictures. Start right now.
There's another one.
I don't have a clue. Okay.
This is like something out of TV.
His plan had been to target a homeless person or a as he thought they wouldn't be missed and their absence would go unnoticed. However, this was not the case at all, as 69-year-old Warren Barnes was a highly valued member of the community and was quickly discovered missing. Warren was a really avid reader, which earned him the loving nickname from the locals of the Reading Man. He'd sit in the same spot every single day behind the bridal shop in Grand Junction, but when he didn't turn up on Sunday the 28th of February, locals found it really strange and alarm bells started to ring. The following day, on Monday the 1st of March, the bridal shop owner Monique received a phone call from Warren's temporary place of work to see if she had seen Warren, as he hadn't shown up for work that morning. He was known to be incredibly hard-working and hadn't missed a single day of work in the 4 years he'd worked for them, so major concerns arose. Monique then contacted the police and filed a missing person report. Brian Sr. had been the one to call Warren's place of work, informing that Warren's wallet had been found at the boat ramp. Monique had pointed out to police how this was very peculiar for his wallet to have been found down there, as he would never normally have walked that distance. Other locals from the area had also come forward with concerns, stating he would normally show up every single morning without fail at 6 a.m. if not sooner.
So every morning it's around 6?
Yeah.
Without fail?
Without fail.
7 days a week?
Yes. He is there every morning.
All by himself?
Yeah. And he's the nicest guy ever. Rough looking, but he is the nicest guy.
And
he buys Pall Mall Red 100s every day and a donut.
He'd be offered in for free coffee before any of the other customers, but that Sunday and Monday morning he didn't show. Multiple people were questioned regarding Cohee, including his friends and his teachers. His mother Terry had suspected he'd had mental disorders from a really young age. He's said to have licked his shoes to clean them and chewed his fingers and toes to the point that he needed medical treatment. He had been on medication from just 5 years old. At school, Cohee had quite a reputation for potentially becoming a killer based on his dark humour and obsession with serial killers, which in turn earned him the nickname Dahmer, after the notorious killer Jeffrey Dahmer. A friend had told detectives that they'd made a joke one day that if any of them were to become a killer, it would be Cohee, and they were also surprised that he hadn't committed on a bigger scale, like a mass shooting. A friend's mum had also said how Cohee had told his friend he was going to kill a homeless man and that he would get away with it as no one would miss them. His teachers from school weren't even remotely surprised to hear the news, as they'd previously addressed their concerns with Terry of his dark obsessions as well as his behavioural issues, which resulted in multiple suspensions. One of the incidents included driving a girl with PTSD to a panic attack, and another being that he attacked another student. Friends had also speculated and discussed with detectives the rumours of Cohee having practised on cats. It was said that cats would disappear within the area, and Cohee confessed to killing and decapitating a stray black cat on Halloween in 2018, only 3 years prior to the murder. He kept the remains in his home for 3 days before throwing them in the bin as they had started to smell. A friend of the 21-year-old Cohee at the time of the trial took the witness stand in the court and described Cohee to be absolutely no different to her other friends that all shared rough patches of mental health as young adults. She stated that he had a morbid curiosity and had been interested in grotesque things like killing and serial killers since being in high school, but that he does know right from wrong. Prosecutors also presented her with a comic strip that Cohee had drawn himself, which just highlights his really dark humour. It was 4 illustrations, beginning with a customer asking a gothic waitress, "Where's the food?" The waitress responds, "I am the food," and the final illustration shows a decapitated, bloody head in a bed. Detectives revealed further incriminating searches on Cohee's phone from early February 2021, which all point to premeditation. These include holding people at knife point, how deadly would a neck stab wound be, and where do homeless people sleep in winter. Heartbreakingly, Warren's last phone activity was also disclosed. He had checked his bank at 6:53 p.m. on the 27th of February and played a card game on an app at 7:01 p.m. He also received a text from a woman on the 1st of March asking if he was okay, but tragically, it was already too late. Judge Richard Gurley had stated that Cohee suffered mental problems and viewed things differently to others. That, however, certainly doesn't justify his actions, and also stated that in his 37 years in the criminal justice system, this was one of the most horrific cases he had ever seen. Jurors were brought to tears by all of the disturbing evidence they were presented with. Terry apologised to the jury for having to witness so many traumatising images and told the court that she'd been shedding tears for the past 2 years for Warren and his family. Cohee had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. A psychologist on behalf of the defence said Cohee was experiencing a psychotic episode triggered by multiple environmental factors which rendered him insane when he saw Warren and at the time of the murder. Some of the environmental factors included increased stress, lack of medication to control intrusive thoughts, isolation from the pandemic, family conflict, and the loss of a much-loved family dog in February 2021. In Colorado, to be deemed legally insane, there has to be evidence that the person was incapable of distinguishing right from wrong at the time of the crime. In this case, prosecutors had lots of evidence on their side. They challenged the defence testimony, with 2 further psychologists concluding Cohee was not insane. Cohee was dressed to kill, connecting his outfit to violence, complete with 3 layers of gloves to conceal fingerprints, deleted crime scene photos and a calendar entry, not to mention trying to dispose of and hide the body. They argued the mental diagnosis ultimately doesn't matter, as he hid evidence revealing he did know right from wrong. The defence psychologist had also written letters of concern to Terry regarding her son's idolisation of famous killers, including Hitler, Stalin, and the Columbine shooters. The ultimate motive is still unknown. However, Cohee had told his psychologist, "I want to be famous, and it doesn't matter for what." In court, Terry described her son as a young man with mental defects and stated she always knew he wasn't like other people. She said he was a happy child, never violent, and a joy to raise until the age of 14. The family doctor had started to see Cohee regularly from 2017, when he was 15 years old, for general checkups, but started treating for depression 1 year later in 2018. He was started on a low dose of antidepressants, which were later increased to nearly the max dose in December 2020, only a few months before the crime. He had last seen Cohee just 3 days before the crime for a boil in his armpit and expressed that was no mention or signs of harming others or psychosis. The pathologist stated that of the 8,000 plus autopsies he had conducted, less than 1% of the cases were this extreme. Warren had suffered a fractured skull and brain damage due to blunt force trauma while still alive. He had already passed when decapitated and dismembered. The trials spanned over 12 days, followed by 2 days of deliberation. The jury showed Cohee no mercy and sentenced him to life in prison for first-degree murder without the possibility of parole. It's quite funny, really, when he expected to receive as little as 15 years for murder. He also received an additional 13 years on 2 further counts, 12 years for tampering with a dead body and 18 months for tampering with evidence. Cohee showed no visible reaction or emotion when receiving his sentence. He now spends his days incarcerated in Buena Vista Correctional Complex. Cohee's assumption that Warren's death would go unnoticed certainly backfired, as he was a highly valued member of the community and had many friends who adored and respected him. His absence was noticed immediately and is still felt by the locals today. Warren has been described as a kind, gentle and selfless man who expected nothing more from others than a place to sit and read. He would often help the local shop owners with moving boxes or doing odd jobs, but was most notably seen enjoying a book while sharing his daily Subway sandwich with the birds gathered around his boots. When the benches were removed from the breezeway, which is where he used to spend most of his days sitting reading, Monique from the bridal shop would put a chair out for him so he could still continue reading where he loved to be the most. Passers-by would often ask about what he was reading, and when wished a good day, he would always respond with, "And you also." Warren held a vast knowledge of Western history, loved the outdoors, and would tell his friends about his time as a cowboy in the Bootcliff Mountains just north of Grand Junction. A memorial sculpture was placed for Warren on the 20th of November 2021 in the place he is remembered best, on the breezeway between Out West Bookstore and Monique's bridal store. Ironworker Tim Narvin spent 285 hours creating the piece, which consists of a pile of books on a chair shaded by a tree, with a special tribute engraved with the words, "And you also." The books are titled with some of Warren's favourite Western books. Tim made a statement reading, "I had a couple of interactions with him in my life. I am 6 years sober now, and I was in a position where I was able to do this project for him. I wanted to do it because I had kind of been in his shoes." Warren's sister Geraldine expressed her grief, saying she still has nightmares about her brother's brutal murder, which took place only 1 day after Warren phoned her to wish her a happy birthday. Since the murder, she's been filled with a deep sense of loss and sadness because she will never receive another phone call from her brother. She told the court, "Warren was a man of honour, a man of integrity, a man loved by the community and his family. Nothing will replace Warren, but hopefully Brian Cohee can never ever have a chance to hurt anyone else. And that is everything that I have on this case. I really hope that Warren Barnes can rest in peace and that his family and friends can heal from this absolutely traumatic event. Let me know what you think about this case. Do you think that Cohee would have went on to commit more murders had he not been caught? Let me know down in the comments.